The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the guest's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of AIHA. AIHA does not endorse any guest or the entity that they represent. On this episode of Healthier Workplaces, protecting the next generation of workers in the workplace with guests Jennifer McLaughlin and Michaela Hall. Welcome to another episode of Healthier Workplaces. I'm Bob Krell, founder and publisher of Healthy Indoors Media, and your host for this program from AIHA. Stay with us.
Meet Alice Hamilton. She was an early pioneer in what we know today as industrial hygiene. Her work had a profound impact on AIHA's earliest members. AIHA's Hamilton Club recognizes organizations that continue her work. These corporate partners use innovation and expertise to shape the future of worker health and safety. Partners receive tiered benefits of access, recognition, contribution, and brand exposure. The Hamilton Club is the center of support and investment between club partners, AIHA, and its members. This is where the future of the profession shines the brightest. For more information, visit aiha.info/Hamilton Club.
All right, we're back live here at AIHCE 2023, Phoenix, Arizona. Hello. I'm Bob Krell. I'm the host of the Healthier Workplaces show, and we're doing some special edition broadcasts and shows from the live expo hall. So anyway, today with me are joining me Michaela and Jennifer from the Teen Workplace Safety.
Yeah, Safety and Health Committee.
Safety and Health Committee. I know I cut that off already. So I guess I need the 10,000-foot overview on this, if at all possible. So teenagers entering the workforce often face unique challenges. I mean, that's, you guys recognize that. So what's the primary, or maybe not primary focus, but what is a major impetus for having this committee and doing this?
Do you want to start since you started? Jennifer started the entire task force for AIHA with this, and then it became a committee. So it's really awesome to have her here to kind of give the background and the history.
That's fair.
So we, back in 2015 at the AIHA Fall Conference, AIHA partnered with NIOSH to put together a program called Safety Matters. And so the idea behind Safety Matters is it was based on the NIOSH curriculum that's in every state in the United States called Talking Safety. And they kind of boiled it down and made it something that teenagers that you could roll out through school systems and grades 7 through 12, so that if you've never even worked a job, you'd know to expect a safe workplace. And so that's sort of how this group got started. I started as a task force in 2017, working with the Mark Ames and the government relations group here at AIHA, and we've grown to a full garnered committee. And that's what our purpose is empowering young workers to expect a safe workplace.
So when did you become a full-blown committee from a task force?
During the pandemic.
That's right.
Why would that go together?
I don't know. It was just when the approval went through to become a full committee status, because we kept meeting all of our goals as a task force, and you get to a certain point where you've sort of checked all the boxes, and then you want to kind of continue the mission. So that's how we became the committee.
So then, Michaela, you joined when?
So I started out as secretary when we became a committee. Jennifer was president, and we have another gentleman named Brian. He was the vice chair at the time, and then we've rolled through, and I'm finishing up as chair now.
My next question would be, what are some of the specific workplace situations or hazards that teens would maybe encounter that maybe adults in the workforce might not encounter? Or are they the same? Is the same set of parameters?
A lot of times it's similar parameters across the board. If you think of it, when you enter into the workforce, you usually start certain jobs like landscaping, babysitting, lifeguarding, working in a grocery store. Some unique areas of the country may be agriculture, where you have a little more high-hazard jobs. A lot of times you're not allowed to go into super high-hazard jobs like construction or things like that. But we all enter the workforce at some point, but when do you really get good health and safety training? Most people are like, it's hard to. I didn't get it till I was in college and start taking classes and knowing what to do. It wasn't until I got into my first internship in health and safety at a government facility that I ever have true health and safety training. So you can't expect much.
And do you think that's typical? The younger workforce is really, they're thrown into jobs that really don't get health and safety training?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like both of you
For
are like
sure.
very emphatic about that.
We were
For
talking
sure.
about that earlier because
Yeah.
we were saying how a lot of the professions or the jobs that youth go into, there's not a strong health and safety culture usually established at those types of job environments already. And so
Yeah, like they're sort of lucky to get on-the-job training
Training.
for like the actual job that they're performing, let alone like safety training that is part of the job. But you have this, like the really common stuff, slip, trip, fall. That's everywhere all the time, right?
Sure.
So things like that. And then the idea behind the Safety Matters training is that it teaches kids to identify the hazard. So that's part of kind of the presentation, like find the hazard, in this scenario and that kind of thing. And so it gets them thinking, more critically thinking.
Yeah, and it makes sense because a lot of I just thinking back, however many decades back when I was a teenager, God, I was like, but the jobs that I got involved with, this is in the 70s, so I hate to admit it, predating OSHA. I started in the workforce prior to that. It really wasn't safe. I mean, talk about unsafe conditions, just ridiculously unsafe conditions. And general contractors about got 3 of us killed. Jacking a house up with undersized jacks, and one of the jacks blew out and dropped the house.
Oh my God.
Those
scary.
kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can see where the teens in the workforce a lot of times are working fast food, so those are places where slip and fall hazards are huge, right?
Yeah, and then even just fast, like speed. So that's the thing, is that the kids are encouraged to work faster, produce more, and that's when people start to get hurt,
Sure.
right? Even adults.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're right. And I guess there's a lot of, again, they're going to be getting jobs that are not necessarily at the top of the spectrum of jobs. So these are not, they're the menial.
And even supervision. Not having a supervisor who's right there with the teen workers or young workers. That makes the job unsafe in certain circumstances,
Makes
as
total
well.
sense. Okay. Next note. Oh, this is good. Okay, this is a good one. So, obviously, education and awareness are like huge, right? For these people entering the workforce, these younger employees, to understand that. So, what I guess, how do we get that culture, that mindset that you have to think about it, right? As far as does it come from the parents? Does it come from the employer? Does it come from both?
I think it really needs to come from kind of 3 perspectives, from family or parents, other adult influencers in that child's life or teen's life, from work as well, and then also from education systems. We teach a lot of things in our school systems that empower people as they get older and get into the workforce, into the real world. Why are we not doing this part of health class, even one session or 1 hour session on basic health and safety, just like you have Health 101 I remember I had it in 9th grade. It's like you can get to the kids early on, get them empowered with the education, and then if you start that from the bottom, it'll work their way through. Those guys go back into the workforce, and they become managers or trainers for whatever environment they're in, whatever occupation it is. And then when they have youth workers or become a parent themselves or an aunt, uncle, they can help educate through as well, kind of full circle.
So how do you get that into school curriculum, in the health class? I mean,
It's
that's
really
daunting,
hard.
right?
It is really hard. I'm
Sounds
not
simple, but really hard.
It's hard because, so pre-pandemic you had sort of like this push all the time to kind of teach to the tests. So you had sort of like the standardized testing. And then, I started going, okay, maybe I can meet with superintendents and talk to them about, doing it professional development, teacher professional development. And the superintendent I worked with was like, that's not really how that works. Like, they get to self-select what they want to do. Like, I think you really want to do like a big auditorium thing. So I've done big auditorium ones. I've done specialized classes and like some of the culinary classes. Or the most interesting one I ever worked with was the artists, the art class, the kind of the high-level National Honor Society art students, and I got them kind of engaged to put together. Most of the states run a poster contest, a teen workplace safety poster contest, and so engaging them at that level was interesting. So really any angle you can use, any teacher that you know in your own community, like that's what we're like asking our membership, the AIHA membership, to do, is kind of engage teachers in their community and see if they can get in through a friend.
So part of your plan is to actually get practitioners, AHA member practitioners,
Absolutely.
to be out in their own communities, in their own school districts, in their own.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
grassroots, really, all the
yeah.
way.
Yeah, and then also like we've realized that because that is so difficult and because there are so many obstacles with that, you know, kind of pairing it with some kind of career day things like feeding the pipeline, trying to get some, you know, kids interested in the public health areas, and as well, like that next level is like, how can the kids find this online themselves, right? So kind of meet them where they're at. So some TikTok stuff, some Instagram stuff, and really kind of populate social media. So that's one of the goals of our committee right now, is trying to get this into their hands themselves. And so we got to get kids together. So we started the Teen Advisory Council. And so we're going to be trying to start to break that out at a lot of different school systems. But we need volunteers from our community, from our membership, to bring to their communities to make this really spread.
So yeah, so that's your primary goal right now, is to try to get that. So you're going bottom up, which makes sense.
We have to.
You're not going to top down this, I don't think. No.
Nope, not at all.
No.
And it's unique, too, because every community is different. Every state is different. Every region is different. Even within a state, you have so much different populations, different collections of workforce. And so it's really, if someone that knows their community well can be a pillar and a catalyst in their community and educating in that area, and then just let it kind of spread like wildfire from there.
Are there any specific resources, you know, besides, you know, trying to bring it to the public schools or school districts, you know, that you found effective in getting this message out? Is that really your primary focus, is to bring it, educate through schools? Or is there any outreach to prospective employers that maybe have a high percentage of teen employees?
Yeah, so I think that's something that we've been working towards, that we have put out a brochure that member volunteers could go out and kind of hand to employers. We'd like to try to take that next level step in rolling it out to employers by doing a little course that their employees can take online with a little certificate kind of thing, so they can kind of boast that, you know, their workers are, you know, Safety Matters trained. So that's kind of like the next step beyond that. But we do have a Safety Matters Center on our Teen Workplace Health and Safety Committee page, which has all the resources and videos and things like that we've done.
Excellent. Yep. Excellent. So how big a committee is this? Because again, you know, a lot of members participating on the committee to help you drive this.
Yeah, we've got about 34 members
wow.
on the committee, but we are definitely looking for more folks.
Absolutely. Great opportunity for student members as well. Getting some of the student local sections involved too. A little more peer-to-peer conversation as well would be awesome and beneficial. Same with young professionals.
Okay. So we kind of covered this cursorily, but like one of the things, sharing some examples or partnerships with the committee, or as established with employers and stuff. Like, so I guess maybe I want to delve a little bit deeper into you know, what partnerships that your committee has done with prospective employers or organizations. Obviously, this is going to take a pretty good collaboration to move this forward, right?
Yeah, definitely. I know that whenever possible, all the members of the committee try to meet with legislators in their states and talk to them about, you know, what else can we do? What else can we be doing? And kind of using that kind of office hours time with them, or coffee hours time. A lot of them do that. I do went in my local community on Cape Cod. And so I've taken advantage of that opportunity. Any sort of anybody in the public I can get them to listen to me and brainstorm. Every little bit helps.
Are they receptive?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Everyone wants to keep teen workers safe. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's something people can get behind, you know.
I mean, but certainly, I would say there's probably a lot of, I'm not gonna say a lot of employers, but there's a lot of areas where health and safety is just lacking enormously, right? Like small employers that maybe don't have any worker health and safety programs in place, you know, like little private contractors, small, you know, that's right. So how do you reach to those type of employment situations? As I earlier mentioned my experience with this private contractor who was, you know, just totally unaware of any safety whatsoever. In fact, people are getting hurt every week on this job site, like a lot.
Yeah, it's like it's hard because I think if you come in wrong with your approach and make them feel like they're doing something wrong, I think it's more of like we can offer value. This is part of like our volunteer service to our professional membership. Coming in and teaching the workers, and even just going through the program with them. There's nothing scary in the program. We're making the kids more aware, which is going to increase their productivity ultimately if kids are being safer on the job.
Yeah, it's all about empowering them, giving them tools for their toolbox so they can be successful as they move forward. Same if you're trying to help with a mom and pop shop, that approach it like you're trying to help them and empower them, not make them feel bad about not having something established already.
And then even like feelings, right? I mean, just teenagers and their feelings, like that can slow down a workplace. That can make for an unsafe workplace. Like you've got some kind of drama going on between workers. You've got, people being excluded. You've got, there's all kinds of, so the teen mental health aspect is something too that we're really interested in kind of incorporating in as well.
Yeah, I guess you really do have to encompass all of that, right?
Yeah.
Because
it affects your health and safety for sure. Yeah.
As you think about the focus of AIHA a lot with the total worker health perspective as well, and that comes into play with your young workers as well. And sometimes it can be a little more dynamic, not as steady.
Exactly. Yeah, like the emotions and the hormones,
all that's going, and so you have to deal with a lot of that at the same time. But they've got sometimes a little rougher than we do as adults, I would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we fail to recognize that, right? I mean, honestly, it's like, it seems like as generations progressively get older, right? It's you always back in my day, and that doesn't really play well. It plays less well. I think the further we move ahead on the timeline, it plays less well even than in previous generations. Now nobody wants to accept that anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a factor. Yeah. So I guess looking ahead, what type of trends, what's on the horizon? What are the things that would need to be focused on to appropriately address, teens in the workplace? Like, what do you see? What's the next steps? I mean, you've laid out some current things you're doing. What's down the road for you?
I think
that's a good question.
Well,
we talked about it at our meeting yesterday.
Yeah, I think we should probably maybe talk about that, right? I mean, do you want to start?
You go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think what we're facing right now. We discussed it a lot at our Teen Workplace Health and Safety Committee meeting last night. Is that there is a trend right now that they're trying to relax some child labor laws, and so as a committee, we're like, how do we handle this? Like, how do we move forward, and how do we make people understand how important it is to protect their safety and keep things where they are versus
that's counterintuitive,
right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
completely.
It's like there was a reason way back in the day we added these child labor laws.
Yeah,
Why are we now thinking
the little kids
it's okay
working
to
in factories 7
it?
days a week for like 14 hours a day? Not a good idea.
But I think there's like this desperation right now with the workforce and trying to find. It's like everywhere you go, people are closed for like these really extended lunch times and things like that at like common places, pharmacies and things like that, because they can't get. Obviously, in that situation, it would be teenagers working in a pharmacy, but it sort of rolls out to all the areas that there's just not enough help right now. So
and you seen this, like, is this nationally or is this like more in certain states? I mean, because obviously, labor laws vary.
They do vary
pretty
from state to state.
radically state by state.
Yeah, so there's.
Is it 30?
I think it was. I thought it was 16 states right now that are looking at
have actual legislation on the docket.
Yeah,
to relax child labor.
Relax it.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous, but okay.
Yeah, we agree.
That literally makes no sense to me whatsoever, and it kind of goes against everything that you're trying to do with the committee. You actually literally have state entities that are taking this a different direction.
Yeah, it's like it's hard enough to keep the kids safe at work, and again, part of the reason that kids get injured or young workers, they define a young worker as anybody under 25. A young worker, they're less experienced. They don't have as much experience overall, right? And so they don't have as much kind of practice. And so they tend to get hurt more often.
Sure, yeah.
And so that kind of thing. The training, just training to do the job. I've worked with teenagers and It's amazing. Like
Well,
just
employers
day to day,
they don't do a
forget.
great job of even teaching them how to do the job.
Right.
Honestly, forget the
Right.
health and safety part, but just even to
Right.
perform the tasks that they're expected to do. A lot of employers, throw their lower end employees just into the fire right away.
They do. And again, I think these workers aren't being supervised and not being helped by adult workers. And in certain situations, it's against the law to have them working on their own. Restrictions, time restrictions and things like that, time of day and extra hours, and sometimes kids are working without work permits. They don't even know together. There's so much education that even comes prior to even us coming in and doing our training. So
Makes sense.
I think one of our biggest pushes is even if you go talk to one group or one child, you're making an impact as you move forward. If you give someone that tool for their toolbox and empower them, it's going to be that catalyst, and they're going to spread that word. If you have kids that are teenagers, or you're an aunt or uncle, or you have friends, that have that conversation with them, even things about wearing safety glasses and hearing protection when you're mowing the lawn, and also showing by example, if they're around you, making sure that you're doing those things correctly too, or even just bringing up the topic of health and safety and its importance. I think the more we talk about it, the more it becomes something that kids will be on the lookout for when they're at work, or even empower them to ask certain questions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would think at times, teens especially, right? Younger employees might be more intimidated, by their employer. Even if not by design, just by the nature of the fact you're younger, you feel, you're at a lower status there. To even bring up questions and even ask, you don't want to, like how do we change that culture so that it's okay to ask questions to be safe, right?
well, right, and that's true. And you have kids. I actually had the opportunity to run a teenage workforce for the last 3 years in the summertime as a volunteer position, and it was amazing. I mean, the kids would, like sometimes they'd be like hiding from the adults in the place, right?
Man.
Like literally hiding.
Literally.
Like, I can see you sitting on that cooler. Can you not do that? And so that's part of it, or like other adults would ask them to do things, and I'm like, they would come to me, or they'd say, somebody asked me to do this. I'm like, you're not doing that. No. So, I mean, but you have to have that good relationship. So
Sure.
if I didn't have that good relationship with them, they could have been doing things that, like, they really shouldn't be doing.
And they have to feel comfortable able to come to that person,
Yeah.
the responsible person that hopefully is looking out for them.
Right.
Yep.
But then you're also laboring under the pretense that, most job sites have that adult that actually cares
Right.
more about the welfare of the teen workers than their bottom line, which I'm not trying to make bad commentaries here, but there's a lot of that.
No, there is a lot of that. Unfortunately, and I think again, it goes back to like you have a bunch of teenagers all working together, and like I've seen that slow everything down. Or I've seen this is in a restaurant type situation, and seen people asking for their food and this kind of thing, and really putting pressure on, and you start to see the thing unravel. Right, you can see everything unraveling once they're behind on like one ticket. The whole thing just. You need someone to jump in and like, okay, let's straighten this out. Let's get this going. And like, let's try to not have this happen again, and you learn from it, but hopefully in like a safe way, not in an unsafe way.
So, I mean, that just seems hugely important. What you're working on with the committee is, that's I think it's really important, especially if you have this drive from certain states to, lax the rules, then there's at least got to, if an employer's not forced to, to take this on in such a way that it's responsible, then somehow you have to encourage them to, or at least encourage the teen workforce to know the questions to ask and know that these are not safe things to do. You shouldn't be doing them.
Right. Yeah. If it feels wrong, it probably is kind of a thing. Yeah.
Listen to your gut.
Yes.
Yeah, that's real important stuff. So anyway, Matilda, Jennifer, this is great. I'm happy that you could spend some time with us here at the event and talk about what your committee's doing. Hope to hear more from your committee and more about some of the things, your initiatives in the future. Because hey, we're doing this show on a regular basis for AIHA, so
Awesome.
We normally wouldn't get to be in person though. This is an anomaly because we do this show remotely.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So I usually record this online, and everybody's all over the world coming in on the show. So it's to actually be face to face and have to control the live production issues. So that's always fun. But anyway, it was great. Look to hear more from you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks very much.
So yeah, that's so that. we're going to be here all 3 days for the AIHCE 2023 event in Phoenix, Arizona. Healthier Workplaces is a show that airs twice a month. We actually do it, as I just mentioned, as a recorded program, and you can see it on the first and third Wednesdays. We drop it each month. And this is like a whole special set of editions that we're doing here for this event, where we're a little live streaming, a little recording, put it together in just a little bit of a flair. And we're actually in the field. We get a chance to see you all, so that's exciting.
So that's our show for this week. We'll be back again with another episode of Healthier Workplaces. Until next time, I'm Bob Krell. Stay healthy.